Hi, I'm Steve Chandler. You may also know me as Songs from Source. So, about a week ago, I bought an electric car. I'll have to find a way to afford it, but there was a combination of factors that made it necessary for me to acquire a new vehicle. My previous vehicle was a 2009 Toyota Avalon, and it was a very nice ride in its younger years. But I took it from under 60,000 miles to north of 178,000. It being a Toyota, it didn't require much in the way of repair, but there were signs that things were beginning to wear out. Things like the transmission was getting a bit slow, the steering box was whining. Then there was the altercation between my car and my garage door. And that was a story of me being in a hurry to get somewhere and not waiting for the door to be fully up before starting to back out of my garage. That misjudgment removed the wing from my trunk lid and scratched the top of the trunk. I got some estimates to repair it, and one shop kindly put some packing tape over the mounting holes on the trunk lid to prevent any water from getting into my trunk. Now the poor car looked really ghetto. So early last week, I went to my local Tesla dealer. They were out of stock locally, and if I bought something, I'd have to go to Minneapolis to pick it up. I tried Nissan and Toyota, and they were also out of stock. Then I visited my local Hyundai dealer. I'd heard good things about their electric cars, but not the Honda dealer next door. And if you're wondering why, it's because when I shopped for my Avalon back in 2012, I think it was, I found their seats uniformly too hard for my skinny butt. At Hyundai, I found three cars in stock, two of which were north of 50,000 in price, and I eventually settled on a Hyundai Kona for under 40,000, and leasing that for 3 years yielded a monthly payment of just over $300. At that price, I decided to do my part for the planet and get it. I'll figure out how to pay for it later. I have to say, the electric car driving experience is very different from an internal combustion engine. The cars are very smart, and the motors that are being put even in an average electric car are really strong. If you put the car in sport mode, the pickup is insane, even in a very modest electric car. They have much more pickup than your average internal combustion engine car. If I'm at a red light and I need to pull in front of someone in the next lane, I can be 100 yards down the road before they've even gotten through the intersection. So I have to say, I love the driving experience. Now, I'm a science-oriented person. I subscribe to Scientific American and read it pretty much cover to cover every month. I've seen the data regarding global warming, and the news is not good. For me, buying an electric car is taking personal action to mitigate climate change. Yeah, I know, a drop in the bucket, but at least I'm doing something. Did you know that every gallon of gas burned contributes 17 pounds of CO2 to our atmosphere, and that CO2 will stay there for thousands of years? For anyone who says, I'm just exchanging CO2 from my tailpipe for CO2 from power plants, I have some news. I live in Iowa. My electricity comes from a company called Mid-American Energy, and more than half of their electricity is generated by wind turbines. That's one reason why Iowa's electricity is among the least expensive in the nation. Now that I have an electric car, I look at all the tailpipes on the cars on the road around me, and the sight scares the crap out of me. A few weeks ago, I saw a presentation about a novel called The Light Pirate, given by a former local meteorologist. While discussing the book, which I had not read, he also discussed the facts regarding climate change. One fact he mentioned was that sea level has risen about 10 inches in the last 50 years. 70% of that was due to thermal expansion. You know how hotter things expand? Well, so does a warmer ocean. Thus, only 30% of the current sea level rise has been due to melting ice caps and glaciers. There's a glacier in Antarctica called the Thwaites Glacier, and it shows signs that it could slide right into the sea. If it does, that would raise global sea level by 70 feet. Coastal real estate is already at risk. Last week, we saw homes washed into the sea by beach erosion on the East Coast due to hurricanes that never actually came ashore. There is constant flooding in Miami due to sea level rise. The collapse of the Thwaites Glacier would put most of Florida, much of Louisiana, and every barrier island on the planet underwater. Goodbye Cape Cod, Nantucket, Block Island, and Martha's Vineyard, as well as the Outer Banks of North Carolina. There's also a long history of energy companies deliberately confusing the issue. Back in the 1960s, Exxon had a research group that published papers indicating that burning fossil fuels could affect global climate. By the 1980s, all the energy companies had changed their tone through the American Petroleum Institute and were actively sowing disinformation. The reality was only scientists hired by the American Petroleum Institute challenged the consensus that our climate was warming due to humans burning fossil fuels. Among knowledgeable people, there's little doubt of that fact. Now, being a songwriter and composer, I've written 2 songs that discuss climate change. The first was written in 2005. It's called We Love Mother Earth. It's a nice song, but it was written when things didn't look as urgent as they do now. Did you know 22 of the hottest years on record have occurred since 2000, or in the last 24 years? In 2022, I wrote a song that indicated the urgency of today called We Are Driving Off a Cliff. I thought I'd share the lyrics and sing the song for you. First verse is, our planet is warming, of that there's no doubt. We've gotten our warning, let's not argue the amount. What will we do? Is there a plan? Or will we just keep our heads in the sand? And the chorus is, we are driving off a cliff. Then there's a response, we're driving off a cliff. We are driving off a cliff and holding hands. We're the frog that won't jump from the pan. Second verse is, you got a big SUV, what's that tell me? Something you need, or you just bourgeoisie? You know we're all in the same boat, the water is rising, how long will it float? Back to the chorus, we are driving off a cliff. Third verse, the time's long past for small action. The problem's too vast, won't get any traction. We need to approach this with no illusions. It's time to cast off our old delusions. We need major cuts in carbon pollution. Radical change is the only solution. We are driving off a cliff. There's a bridge after a guitar solo. It says, we ignore the situation because it's inconvenient. Reality does not care that you wish it was more lenient. We are driving off a cliff. Well, let's hear that song now.
Our planet is warming, of that there's no doubt. We've gotten our warning, let's not argue the amount. What will we do? Is there a plan? Or will we just keep our heads in the sand? We are driving off a cliff. We are driving off a cliff. What's that tell me? Something you need, or you're just bourgeoisie. You know we're all in the same boat. The water is rising, how long will it float? We are driving off a cliff. need approaches with no illusions. It's time to cast off our old delusions. We need major cuts in carbon pollution. Radical change is the only solution. We are driving off a cliff. We are driving off a cliff. We're the frog that won't jump from the pan. We are driving off a cliff. We are driving off a cliff. We ignore the situation because it's inconvenient. Reality does not care that you wish it was more lenient. We are driving off a cliff.
Well, I hope you like it. That's We Are Driving Off a Cliff. It's a fun song, but it's also got a pretty crucial message. And I'm sorry the news is not good. We need to do a lot more than we're doing now. I wish I could say something different. In any case, until next time.